Good morning. So let me tell you, that walk on stage, it may seem easy, but for some, it is actually nearly impossible. 15 years ago, my husband lost a leg. Since then, his prosthetic has helped him get around, but he has had to change the way that he lives to fit that device. How he walks, how he climbs stairs, how he gets in and out of cars. It really limits the activities he can participate in. But a few weeks ago, he received an entirely new type of device. It's a leg that has a computer in the knee joint. The sensors in the knee hold his body measurements and can flex and bend the knee to help correct his gait. And the result is he has the right amount of movement to now be able to walk really easily. No longer does he have to adapt to the device. Now the device fits the way he wants to walk. A whole range of activities open up for him that simply weren't possible before. Looking back, who would have thought that an artificial leg would have sensors, technology, sophistication? Certainly in my world, I have personally witnessed sensors changing lives. I'm actually amazed by the level of innovation that's unfolding in medical devices. At IBM, we're working with a startup called Bionic Labs. They've developed an incredible exoskeleton to help disabled patients. It's loaded with sensors at every joint and every point of movement. And Bionic Labs plans to use our services on Bluemix to analyze data from their exoskeletons while the data is collected in real time. This then can be coupled with the data from the rehab doctor so that now all the data will be accessible to hospitals and investigators during their clinical trials. This enables adjustment in treatment that in turn will yield much better patient results. And of course, that's really the ultimate goal. New kinds of data from machines and devices combined with existing information can be analyzed and shared to generate better outcomes. And it is this that is at the heart of the Internet of Things. The Internet of Things is about the instrumentation of everything. Just look around you. People, machines, everyday objects, and nearly everything around us. Our world is digitized and interconnected, and it gives us an incredible source of data. And because of that, we see an explosion of applications that use the Internet of Things. Our clients are creating new, innovative, data-driven products and services because of that. I want to share some examples. Let's start with Peugeot. They happen to be here this week telling their story, which I'm sure many of you would like to hear in person. And they've enabled their vehicles with connected services. Now, what this does is help drivers avoid danger zones, help them find parking locations, and help them find less expensive fuel. But in addition to that, they're also creating products and services with their partners, like, for example, fleet operators and insurers. All of this built on the new data that is gathered from their vehicles. Daedu River Hydropower, which is a Chinese utility, they combine weather data with existing statistical models and satellite images. And their goal is to then more effectively forecast energy generation in a part of China where the weather is particularly unpredictable. And then there are solutions that bring data about people, things, organizations together to create value in context, in real time. The Internet of Things is about something much bigger than instrumentation. The data generated from local events is becoming connected with other information, such as enterprise data, public data, social media data, and many other sources of data that we have. Integrating all of this and making sense of it leads to a world where the Internet of Things becomes the Internet of Insight. After all, it is insight generated and applied across many applications that is actually transforming industries. We see this in 3 simple steps. It starts with capture, the ability to secure the data streaming from devices and gateways, followed by analyze, which is the ability to develop new insights based on the integration of information from devices, enterprise systems, and other both public and private data sources. And finally, act, the ability to initiate new processes and actions to deliver business outcomes where they matter, at speed, in real time, at massive scale. In yesterday's opening video, we showed the endless possibilities of how connected cars will change transportation. Let's dive into a part of that system and the needs of how to react very quickly. We're working with car manufacturers, insurers, device makers, and other stakeholders to help improve the safety in vehicles. So back to the steps. What can we capture? Data from sensors in the steering wheels, video cameras in the cars, even data from sensor-connected clothing. And of course, there's the mobile phone, which everybody already has in their car. Now that data is captured, it needs to be analyzed. And in the world of car safety, there is very little room for latency. So data must be rapidly integrated from these devices and sources to correctly diagnose a relevant event. Analysis determines the difference between a driver who might be falling asleep from someone who might be suffering a much more serious health situation. And finally, a decision must be made to take the appropriate action. If the driver's fallen asleep, the car could wake him with a vibration, audio signals, and flashing lights, or completely take control and automatically park the car. In a more serious emergency, the vehicle could slow itself down, pull to the side of the road. Emergency services could be called automatically while the sensors on the driver's clothing are assessing his condition. Other details, such as health records, could then be connected through the cloud to alert a nearby hospital of the incoming patient's current status. The ability to instrument a single driver through his car, clothing, and phone could be realized in thousands of connected cars, and therefore inform how emergency services are deployed, how insurance models are offered and priced, how health care is administered, how city transportation services are set up. In this very simple example, we saw how the connected car improved vehicle safety and reshaped some related services. The ability to capture, analyze, and act on the Internet of Things will truly transform industries. So how do we enable all of this? Starts with Bluemix. Bluemix is an open standards, cloud-based platform for building, managing, and running applications. On Bluemix, we have essential services needed to be able to create insight-driven IoT applications. An IoT foundational service, a JSON database service from Cloudant, a time series service, and a number of other related services, all valuable for IoT applications. So, let's put some of these services to work and build an application. To help me out, please welcome Vice President of WebSphere Foundation, Michael Curry. Wow. You know, Michael, they built the desk too tall, so I'm going to get up here so that I'm finally at your height.
Yeah, I like that. That's good. You're still a little shorter, though, to be honest. So I want to kind of get into a demonstration of kind of the concepts you just talked about. And I think there's some really interesting things that we can show here. So I'm going to show how easy it is to build a simple demo around your phone, actually. And I brought it up here for you.
Okay, good.
So we'll build it around your phone. And what we're going to do is we're going to show how that a sensor can actually sense your phone and help keep you safe from a piece of equipment that you're not really trained to be around in an industrial scenario. So in the process, we're also going to show you how we collect data from this environment, and then we can use that and analyze it to improve safety in our facility. So we're going to use some of the new capabilities that Inhi announced yesterday for this. So first of all, there's 3 new capabilities in Bluemix that we're going to be highlighting. First, we're going to use Cloudant, right? And that's going to be our tool for actually acquiring the high volume of real-time data, and that's really the capture piece you spoke about before. The next piece then is really to use DashDB, and we're going to use that to perform all the analytics on the data that's coming from the sensors. And there we're going to show visualization around that, and that's really the analyze piece. And then the third piece is I'm going to actually build the rules and the logic that are going to keep you safe in an unauthorized user scenario so that you stay away from that piece of equipment. I'm going to use Node-RED for that, which is part of our IoT Foundation service in Bluemix.
Okay.
So we'll pull those 3 together. That'll be the ACT portion, and I'll show you how it all fits together. So let's get started. So before we get started, we do need a piece of equipment. Now, it just so happens that I brought a piece of equipment, something that could work on the plane.
Okay.
And here it is. I rolled it out. So
wow, that went under the seat?
Yeah, it doesn't fit very well under the seat. And, TSA gets a little worked up about it. I think I might ship it next year instead of. But
good idea.
Anyway, so that's our piece of equipment. And you can see it's got skulls on it, so it's clearly dangerous. And to do this, I'm going to actually go into Bluemix and log into my environment. So let's get started. Of course, I have to log in. Perfect. I'll sign in. So I've already created an application in Bluemix using our IoT Foundation boilerplate. So that should come up here. I don't care about my free trial. Okay. And this application actually was just created. All I did was just click on Create an App. And you can see that we have a set of boilerplates. One of the boilerplates is the Internet of Things Foundation starter. And what that does is it allows me to connect physical devices into the cloud so I can begin collecting information from them and talking to them remotely and things like that. But I already created the app, so we'll go back to my dashboard and show that. So what we need to do here is actually build a scenario where that is talking to you and it can sense how close you are to it. So the way that's going to work is this mobile phone is actually going to be receiving a signal from a little white disc that sits on the front of that box. I don't know if you saw it before.
Okay.
That's an iBeacon. Okay, and that iBeacon is transmitting Bluetooth data. And as you get closer to it, your phone's going to pick that up. This phone is then going to connect into Bluemix, send the data up to Bluemix, and then I'm going to build some logic about what we're going to do about that. And I want to check to see if you're authorized to be near it and all that.
Okay.
So we'll go ahead and build that application. In order to do that, I'm actually going to be using the IoT Foundation service and a tool called Node-RED, which is in there. And Node-RED allows me to visually wire together logic around the Internet of Things using JavaScript nodes. So I've sort of pre-built a lot of these nodes at the bottom. It's kind of like a cooking show.
Yep.
We have some things before and after, just to kind of save time here. But the basic flow here is simple. I'm going to receive a proximity alert from the phone, the app on the phone, as soon as you get close to that. Based on that, I'm actually going to create a query. And what I'm doing here is I'm actually going to look up in the cloud and database to see if you are authorized. So it's our system of record here to know whether you're authorized for this. And based on that, I'll make a decision, are you authorized or are you not authorized? And if you're not authorized, then I'm going to take one of 3 actions. I'm either going to alert you, and we'll just send you a little alert on your phone so that you know you're in a danger zone. I'm also going to actually send a shutdown command to the machine itself. So we'll shut that thing down so that you don't actually get injured. So I've got to wire those things in. And then I'm also going to log this information in our cloud and database so that later on we can analyze who did this horrible thing and why did it happen. And then, if you were authorized, we'd just go ahead and pass it through. But in this case, you're not going to be authorized because that will make it more fun.
Yep.
So I'll go ahead and deploy this. Now, when I hit deploy, this is actually deploying everything I need in the cloud in real time, and it all, is all running in active code. So you need to take this phone.
Okay.
Go approach that dangerous piece of equipment over there, and we'll see what happens.
Okay, I guess I went too far.
That's good.
It's going to save me from that.
It did exactly what it was supposed to do.
Good. So the funny thing is, we didn't know what it was supposed to do.
Now we do. Okay, so good.
So that was really helpful. And seriously, though, when we think about something like this, you know, a machine shutting down can be quite expensive. So can anything be learned in that same episode to prevent the machine shutdown?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great point. And, you know, part of this was you saw that I was collecting information in the Cloudin database here. So I'm actually gathering information about every time somebody gets too close to a piece of equipment. And what you don't see in this is that I'm actually synchronizing that data to DashDB so that when every time something happens, I synchronize it over and I can do some analytics against it. So let's take a look at some of those analytics.
Okay, good.
And I actually built a little script here that I can run to show some information about the data that we gathered. Okay, and of course it logged me out, so give me a second. So this little script, all it's doing is just basically running to, you know, creating two charts, but it'll take a second to log back in. All right, so go into that, and then I'll run those scripts. Live demo, guys, live demo. All right, so now we ran that. So now the first chart here is actually showing me all the people that have gotten too close to equipment over the last 2 years. And wouldn't you know it, look who's our worst offender. It's Beth. You seem to have a problem with a dangerous piece of equipment.
You know, that's really interesting. I'm shocked by that. Could it have anything to do with my training, though? I don't think I'm doing anything wrong.
That's a good point. Actually, the second chart that I generated could tell us something. So I could take a look at this, and this will tell us who the supervisor was when these events occurred.
Well, look there. It appears that Bob was the supervisor when all of these things occurred. So maybe the issue isn't really me, but instead the need for greater safety training for Bob's team.
Well, you know what? I'm going to let you tell Bob that, actually.
Okay. I'll take care of that. So it seems that you've really identified this training issue, and now we have the opportunity also to cross-reference that with my records and see if maybe Bob should do a refresher course for himself and the team around workplace safety.
Yep, it's perfect.
And we'll just leave in Vegas the fact that that was Bob.
Excellent.
So seriously, based on this information, you know, I could apply streaming and predictive analytics to these real-time events to trigger an alert before the safety violation occurs, thus keeping the employees safer and saving money at the same time. I like it. Thanks, Michael.
Thanks. Take care.
The Internet of Things is about analytics, combining new kinds of instrumented data with existing information at speed and scale, and generating new insights and outcomes. Now let's hear from one of our clients who is putting IoT applications to use in the real world, maximizing customer engagement in shopping malls. Jake, over to you.
Thank you so much, Beth and Michael. That was an awesome demo of Bluemix. And based on a little impromptu